is a mystery, deep and ancient, echoing from the days when the Lord called out to a man named Abram. The call did not begin with a command to change the world, nor a call to lead nations or confront empires. The first word spoken to Abram was lech lecha, a Hebrew phrase that holds more than mere movement. It means go for yourself. Go forth, not for your father's house, not for your country, not even for your own comfort, but for yourself. It is a divine call wrapped in personal transformation. And this is the first key, the call to separation. Before Abraham could become the father of nations, before his name was even changed from Abram to Abraham, before covenant, before promise, before blessing, he had to separate. He had to leave behind everything familiar, everything comfortable, everything he was raised in, the land of Ur, the house of idols, the customs of men. All had to be forsaken. The journey to become who you are begins not by reaching outward, but by separating inward. The voice of God does not always shout in crowds. It is heard in the solitude of surrender. Many walk through life entangled, tied to the voices of their past, the patterns of their family, the expectations of others, but the divine pattern is clear. Separation is not rejection, it is revelation. When God calls a person, he separates them, not to isolate, but to sanctify. He takes them aside to prepare them. Moses was called and he had to leave Egypt, not just physically, but spiritually. Joseph was set apart, misunderstood, thrown into pits and prisons, because purpose requires a different path. David was anointed, but then separated from the palace for years before his crown. Even the Messiah, Yeshua, was driven into the wilderness after his baptism, set apart by the Spirit for preparation, testing, and victory. So too, you must answer the call of lech lechkach. Go for yourself. Come out. Step away from the noise that confuses your identity. The world would tell you to blend in, to conform, to chase after what others are chasing. But heaven whispers something different. Come away. Focus not on the crowd, but on the covenant. You cannot find who you are while trying to become what others expect. You must be willing to walk alone for a time. The walk of separation is not a punishment. It is a privilege. It is a sacred invitation to transformation. The problem is not that God is not calling. He is. The problem is that many do not hear because they are surrounded by the wrong voices. You must be willing to walk away from the noise, from the opinions, from the cycles that keep you bound. There are things in your life you cannot carry into the land of promise. Abram could not bring Ur with him. He could not bring the idols, the compromises, or even some of the family dynamics. Their relationships, habits, and thought patterns that belong to your former land. And as long as you cling to them, you will remain in Haran, a place of halfway obedience, halfway blessing, halfway transformation. It is not enough to be called. Many are called, but few respond in fullness. The ones who do must leave something behind. Separation is not something that happens once, it is ongoing. Every new level of purpose requires a deeper level of consecration. Every new assignment will require you to re-examine what you are connected to. Are you yoked to the things of God or to the expectations of man? Are you following his spirit or your comfort zone? The altar of calling requires a sacrifice of familiarity. You cannot carry the past into the place of promise. And there's something else. The word lech lecha is written in a form that implies go to yourself or go into yourself. It is not only a journey outward, it is a journey inward. It means that as Abram walked through foreign lands and barren deserts, he was also walking deeper into his own soul, shedding false identities, discovering his true self in communion with the Most High. That is what you must do. Focus on yourself. Not in a carnal or selfish sense, but in a holy and prophetic sense. You must begin the journey of shedding the names the world gave you. You must strip away the identity formed by wounds, rejections, fears, and comparisons. That is why separation is necessary, because you will never discover the divine identity within until you leave the false ones behind. The Father is not calling you to become someone else. He is calling you to become the version of yourself he saw before time began. But you cannot become that person until you come out from what is not of him. It is not enough to be near the promise. You must walk into it. And to walk into it, you must first walk out of the crowd, out of the imitation, out of the echo. You must be willing to leave even good things if they are not God's things for you. That is the mystery of the call to separation. The world surrounds you with mirrors, reflections not of truth, but of distortion. Every screen you glance into, every scroll of your thumb, every post and picture and filtered moment, it is all designed to show you what others want you to see, not who you truly are. And in that endless maze of images, the soul forgets its face. The heart begins to echo what it sees instead of what it is. But the ancient word speaks something different. The word is not a mirror of distortion. It is the mirror of the soul. It reveals not who the world says you are, but who the Creator made you to be. In the book of James, it is written that the one who hears the word and does not do it is like a man who looks at his face in a mirror and then walks away, forgetting what he looks like. It is a warning, yes, but also a revelation. There is a mirror that reveals, but not the kind found on a wall or a screen. It is the Word of God. And that mirror does not lie. It exposes the cracks, the stains, the places we hide, but it also shows the glory waiting beneath. The mirror of the world changes you into its own image. The mirror of the Word transforms you into His. In fact, you cannot find your identity in reflections crafted by men. You must find it in the image stamped on your soul by the one who formed you in secret. The enemy works to distort that image, to mar it with comparison, with insecurity, with the opinions of others. But the voice of the Lord calls you back, not to performance, but to presence. Not to conformity, but to transformation. To see yourself as heaven sees you is not pride, it is humility. It is surrendering the masks and standing unveiled before the one true mirror. The journey to becoming whole begins not by fixing the world around you, but by being healed within. You cannot pour from a vessel that is cracked. You cannot bring light to others if you are walking in shadow. You must be willing to look into the Word, not casually, not superficially, but deeply, painfully, truthfully. The mirror does not flatter, but it frees. It shows you the dust so you may wash. It shows you the wounds so you may be healed. It shows you the lie so you may embrace the truth. This is why the prophets were always men and women of vision, not outward, but inward. They saw into the soul of the nation, into the heart of man, into the brokenness behind the veil. They were not deceived by the robes, the rituals, the ceremonies. They saw beyond it all because they saw themselves first. Isaiah, the great prophet, did not begin to speak to Israel until he had seen the Lord, and in seeing the Lord, he saw himself. Woe is me, for I am undone, he cried. For the mirror had been lifted and the truth had come forth. You must have your own Isaiah moment. You must be undone before you are rebuilt. You must look into the mirror and allow the fire of truth to cleanse what is not of Him. And this is not a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It is a daily surrender. Every day the world tries to paint its image over you. Every day the old labels return to press upon your identity. That is why you must return to the Word, the true mirror, not just to read it, but to be read by it. Not just to quote it, but to be searched by it. Healing begins when hiding ends. Restoration comes when the truth is allowed to enter the broken places. You do not need to fix others first. You do not need to wait until everything around you is in order. You must focus on your soul. You must do it for yourself. Not selfishly, but sacredly. For your healing is not just about you. It is about the ones you are called to reach, to love, to bless. But you cannot lift another if you are still bound in chain. The mirror of the Word does not condemn, it redeems. It convicts, yes, but only so that it may restore. It shows you the ashes so it can trade them for beauty. The world teaches you to look out, compare, compete, conform, but the Spirit teaches you to look in, repent, renew, restore. What you see on the surface is never the full story. There is depth beneath your scars. There is calling beneath your confusion. There is glory hidden in your struggle. The mirror of the soul reveals not just the pain, but the purpose within it. Not just the sin, but the Savior who covers it. Not the fall, but the hand that lifts you from it. And until you are willing to look inward, you will always be chasing something outward that can never complete you. You were never meant to be a reflection of the world. You were meant to reflect the image of the one who made you. The restoration of that image is not automatic. It is intentional. It is not imposed. It is invited. And it begins when you choose to look into the mirror of truth, face what you see, and surrender it to the one who never turns away from the real you. When the Messiah walked the earth, he was not found in the centers of power, not in the palaces, not among the crowds of influence or applause. He withdrew to lonely places. He climbed mountains, crossed lakes, and rose early while it was still dark. He moved away from the noise, not because he feared it, but because he had something greater to pursue. The discipline of the secret place. It is the unseen chamber where heaven meets earth, where noise is silenced, and where the soul is recalibrated to the frequency of God. The world rewards the public stage, but heaven rewards the private altar. The power that moved through his hands in public was rooted in the communion he cultivated in private. The miracles that others saw were born from the prayers that no one witnessed. The authority he carried in the temple was forged in the stillness of the wilderness. There is no shortcut to true transformation and no substitute for time in the presence of God. The secret place is not a luxury for the spiritual elite. It is a necessity for anyone who desires to walk in truth, in holiness, and purpose. You cannot walk in divine power if you are disconnected from the divine source. Right? The world around you is loud. It pulls at your senses and floods your mind with constant motion. It demands your attention but robs your peace. It distracts you with busyness until you are filled with everything except what matters most. The danger of this age is not only wickedness, it is weariness, it is distraction, it is soul-numbing noise that keeps you from hearing the whisper of the Spirit. The secret place is the counter to that chaos. It is not found in a place, but in a posture. A surrendered heart, a quiet spirit, a willing soul. It is where God speaks not in thunder, but in stillness. But the secret place is not glamorous. It is not filled with applause or validation. No one sees you there. No one claps when you close the door and kneel in the quiet. But heaven sees. The Father who sees in secret will reward in secret. The transformation that happens there is not immediate, but it is eternal. It is in the hidden moments that roots go deep. The oak tree is not strong because of what is seen above, but because of what is buried beneath. So it is with your spirit. If your roots are shallow, the storm will break you. But if they are deep, even the winds of hell cannot shake you. The enemy fears the secret place more than he fears the sermon, the song, or the platform, because the secret place is where the soul is fortified. It is where masks fall off and truth is revealed. It is where idols are torn down and intimacy is restored. It is where the flesh is crucified and the spirit is awakened. It is where wounds are healed not by the touch of man, but by the hand of the Almighty. The fire that fell on the altar in Scripture never came where there was no sacrifice. And the greatest sacrifice is not in what you do before men, but in what you lay down before God when no one is watching. It is in the secret place that pride dies, when you are alone before God, stripped of every title, every role, every impression. You come as you are. There the Lord does not deal with who you pretend to be. He deals with the you that you try to hide, the questions you avoid, the sins you justify, the fears you conceal. He exposes not to shame, but to heal. He searches not to condemn, but to cleanse. And it is only in that naked honesty that you are made whole. You do not need to impress him. He already knows. You only need to meet him in the place where honesty lives and transformation begins. But the secret place is also the place of strategy. The Messiah did not act on impulse. He acted on instruction. The times he spent in prayer shaped every decision. He did not choose his disciples randomly. He chose them after a night in prayer. He did not go to the cross in weakness. He went after he sweat blood in the garden. The victory of the cross began in the secret agony of Gethsemane. If the Son of God needed the secret place to endure the will of the Father, how much more do we? It is in the secret place that burdens are lifted. What weighs down the soul in public is lifted in private surrender. You may speak to many people in a day, but if you have not spoken with God, you have missed the most vital conversation. You may read many words, but if you have not read his word in stillness, your mind remains unfed. The outward fruit of your life will never exceed the inward depth of your devotion. Your impact will never rise higher than your intimacy. Your anointing will never overflow unless your vessel is first filled in the quiet. There are things you will only hear when the noise is gone. Things you will only see when your eyes are lifted from the world and fixed on him. In the scroll of heaven, written before the foundation of the world, there is a name, your name. And with that name, there is a purpose. It is not borrowed. It is not copied. It does not come from culture, tradition, or imitation. It was spoken by the mouth of the Almighty, carved into the fabric of eternity, assigned to you and you alone. No other soul can fulfill it. No other voice can declare it. No other feet can walk it. And yet, from the moment you are born, the world begins its work, not to reveal that purpose, but to replace it, to cover it, to convince you to live a life that is not your own. The systems of man are built on comparison. You are measured by how closely you match the image projected by others. From childhood, you are told to follow this model, to pursue that standard, to walk in steps already taken. But the call of God is not for duplication, it is for distinction. He did not create you to echo another's calling. He did not form you to be a shadow. You are made to be a light. And light does not borrow its brilliance, it shines from within, from the fire placed by the breath of God. This is the war for identity, not just knowing who you are, but refusing to become what you are not. The world gives you roles, labels, masks. It tells you what success looks like, what worth means, what dreams you should chase. But purpose is not found in outward definition, it is revealed in inward revelation. You cannot walk in your calling until you lay down the false selves you have picked up along the way. You must peel away the layers that life, pain, and people have placed upon you. Because buried underneath is the image of God, waiting to be awakened. The scriptures are filled with those who had to reclaim their name. Jacob was born with a grasping hand and a name that meant deceiver, but that was not who he was. He wrestled with God in the night, and from that struggle, a new name emerged, Israel, one who prevails with God. Gideon was hiding in fear when the angel called him mighty warrior. The name did not match the man he thought he was, but it matched the man God had created. Simon was unstable and impulsive until the Messiah looked into his soul and declared him to be Peter, a rock. Purpose was not created in the moment, it was revealed in the moment. So it is with you. Your life is not random. Your path is not accidental. You are not an afterthought. You were placed in this generation, in this moment, for a divine reason. But you must seek it. You must guard it. The enemy will do all he can to divert you. He will not always come with destruction. Often he comes with distraction. He offers a life that looks good but is not God. He tempts you with applause that satisfies the flesh but starves the spirit. He entices you to mimic others because if he can keep you from becoming yourself, he has already stolen your destiny. You must be willing to walk alone if necessary. Every true calling requires separation. Abraham left his homeland. Joseph was sold away from his brothers. David was sent to the wilderness. John the Baptist cried out in the desert. The Messiah himself was rejected by his own. The path of purpose is not always lined with affirmation, but it is sacred. It is filled with divine appointments, orchestrated encounters, and moments where eternity touches time through your obedience. But you will never see them if you are chasing a life not assigned to you. There is a cost to walking in your purpose. It will cost you popularity. It will cost you comfort. It may cost you relationships, but what you gain in return cannot be measured. You gain alignment with heaven. You gain the peace of walking in your true identity. You gain the favor that follows obedience. The mantle that fits only you will never fall on your shoulders if you are wearing another's robe. Saul offered David his armor, but David knew it was not his. He took it off. He chose the sling, the stones, the simple things that God had trained him with in secret, and with them he brought down giants. You must choose what is authentic over what is accepted. You must pursue what God has whispered to your spirit, even if no one else understands it. You must be faithful in hidden places before you are revealed in public ones. And above all, you must remember that your purpose is not about proving anything to others. It is about fulfilling what was written about you. The scroll of your life will not be judged by comparison to another. It will be measured by whether you walked in the fullness of what heaven entrusted to you. There is a mystery in the way God moves, in silence, in waiting. In the hidden places where nothing seems to be changing, yet everything is being shaped. The world tells you to rush, to push, to produce, to show the results now. But heaven does not move on the calendar of man. It moves by the rhythm of eternity. And the purposes of God are not microwaved, they are forged in fire, forged in stillness and time. The process is not a punishment, it is a preparation. And those who refuse to go through the process forfeit the promise. The seed does not bear fruit unless it remains hidden in the soil. You were not created for instant glory. You were created for eternal weight. And eternal things are never formed in haste. The gold must pass through the furnace. The vessel must be shaped by the potter's hand. The tree must grow its roots deep before its branches stretch to the sky. So it is with your calling. So it is with your life. There is a time of formation, and in that time, God is not only shaping what you will do, He is shaping who you are. For what you do must flow from who you are. A foundation must be laid before the house can be built. And if the foundation is shallow, the structure will fall. This is why the wilderness comes before the promised land. This is why the cave comes before the crown. This is why the silence of Nazareth comes before the miracles of Galilee. Because in the hidden place, in the process, pride is stripped, motives are purified, and the soul learns to trust not in itself, but in the one who called it. The desert is not the absence of purpose, it is the refining of it. It is where vision is tested, where faith is stretched, where obedience is proven. The process is where your heart is prepared to carry what your hands have not yet touched. Do not despise the days of small beginnings. Do not measure your life by what is visible. God often does His greatest work in obscurity. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness tending sheep before he stood before Pharaoh. Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, forgotten in a prison before he wore the robes of authority. Even the Messiah grew in silence, in hiddenness, increasing in wisdom and stature before He revealed His glory. The timing of man is impatient. The timing of God is perfect. And if He has hidden you, it is not to waste you, it is to preserve you until the appointed time. You must learn to honor the process, not endure it grudgingly, but embrace it willingly. For every trial you walk through, every delay you encounter, every door that seems closed, it is all part of the divine strategy. What you think is a detour may be the very road that leads you into destiny. What feels like a delay may be the mercy of God shielding you from stepping into something too soon, because premature promotion is not a blessing, it is a burden. If you receive the crown before your character is ready to carry it, it will crush you. There is a time to be hidden, a time to be broken, a time to be taught, a time to wait. David was anointed king, but he did not run to the throne. He returned to the sheep. Because the process is not just about your calling, it is about your becoming. God is not interested in elevating someone who will misrepresent Him. He does not anoint for popularity, He anoints for purpose, and purpose requires purity. Purpose requires patience. Purpose requires process. Even creation testifies to this mystery. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly by skipping the cocoon. The cocoon is dark, it is tight, it is uncomfortable. But in that confined space, transformation takes place. Wings are formed, identity is solidified, and when the time is right, what was hidden is revealed. Not just changed, but transformed. So it is with you. The process may be painful. The waiting may seem long, but what God is forming in the silence will speak louder than anything formed in haste. In the waiting, trust. In the breaking, yield. In the shaping, listen. Do not compare your timeline to another's. Do not look to the right or to the left. What God is doing in you is unique. Your story is not meant to match anyone else's. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared. And if the process seems longer than you expected, it only means the calling is greater than you imagined. The depth of your foundation determines the height of your calling. The deeper He digs, the higher He intends to build. The longer He hides you, the brighter you will shine. The slower the shaping, the more perfect the fit. There is a voice that speaks within, a voice not of man, not of culture, not of fear, but of the Spirit. That voice does not shout over the noise of the world. It whispers through the stillness of a surrendered soul. Yet it is this voice that holds the key to everything you were created to be. The voice of God does not compete with the crowd, it calls you out from it. It does not flatter the ego, it confronts the soul. And to hear it, you must turn down the volume of everything else. You must silence the distractions, remove the idols, shut the door, and tune your spirit to the frequency of heaven. There are many voices in the world, all clamoring for attention. The voice of comparison that tells you you're not enough. The voice of fear that warns you not to try. The voice of regret that chains you to yesterday. The voice of expectation that pressures you to perform. And if you do not learn to discern the voice of the Lord, you will be led by voices that were never meant to guide you. The sheep know the voice of their shepherd, and they follow him, not because the voice is the loudest, but because it is the truest. The voice of truth does not always comfort first, it convicts. It does not always agree, it transforms. To follow the voice of God, you must be willing to go where others will not. Noah heard it, and it led him to build when there was no rain. Abraham heard it, and it called him to leave everything familiar. Moses heard it from the burning bush, and it pulled him out of hiding. Elijah heard it in a whisper on the mountain, and it restored his soul. Mary heard it and said yes to carrying the impossible. The Messiah heard it in the Jordan, in the wilderness, in the garden. That voice was not a suggestion, it was a summons. But the voice of God is not always comfortable. It does not simply tell you what you want to hear, it tells you what you need to hear. It will call you out of the boat, it will send you into the storm. It will stretch your faith, challenge your motives, and confront your fears. But it will never lie, it will never leave you, it will never lead you into anything that grace cannot sustain. And in that voice is life, power, healing, and direction. It will speak through the word. It will speak through conviction. It will speak through peace that passes understanding and through rest that makes no sense in the midst of chaos. To follow that voice is to choose obedience over comfort, trust over control, surrender over certainty. It means you must let go of your own map and walk the path where his footsteps lead. The world may call you foolish, others may not understand, but if God has spoken, you must follow. Delayed obedience is disobedience. Partial obedience is rebellion. When he speaks, your response must be yes, even if it costs you, even if it stretches you, even if it breaks you. Because what he asked for, he also empowers. What he commands, he makes possible. There is a reason the voice often comes in the wilderness. In the noise of Egypt, Israel couldn't hear it. But in the silence of the desert, the voice thundered from Sinai. In the wilderness, the clutter of the world is stripped away. The distractions are removed. The soul becomes raw, vulnerable, open. And it is in that place of emptiness that the voice fills you. Not just to inspire you, but to direct you. You cannot follow two voices. You cannot serve two masters. You must choose this day whom you will follow. The voice of the world leads to conformity. The voice of God leads to transformation. To follow his voice is to walk by faith, not by sight. It is to take steps when the ground is not yet visible. It is to move forward with nothing but a word, but that word is enough. He said, "Let there be light," and the universe obeyed. He said, "Peace, be still," and the storm ceased. He said, "Lazarus, come forth," and the dead man walked. If his voice can raise the dead, it can raise you. If his voice can calm the storm, it can calm your soul. But you must hear it. You must seek it. You must treasure it more than the approval of man or the applause of the world. You will never fulfill your calling if you do not first learn to listen. And listening is not passive. It is an act of worship. It is the positioning of the heart to say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." It is not enough to hear, you must heed. It is not enough to listen, you must follow. For the voice is not only a sound, it is a direction. It is a compass in the dark. It is the light to your path. And in a world of countless echoes, the only voice that leads to life is the one that spoke before time began and will speak after time is no more.